Hello, this is Virtual Mr. Hall, and I'm going to go through some of the questions that sometimes people get wrong on the ECDL word processing exam. So hopefully if you keep these things fresh in your mind, these questions won't stump you when you come to take your test. So strap yourselves in, because this is going to take about 10 minutes and we're going to cover a lot. Right, we're going to start with italics. Sometimes people forget what italics are. If you select any writing and then press the I that looks slightly slanted, that will make the writing slightly slanted, and it's called italics. Next thing we're going to look at is first line indent. If you've got a paragraph, you can make the first word indented. To do that, just right click anywhere on that paragraph and choose paragraph from the list. Then where it says special, you need to choose first line from the drop-down list and then type in the number you are given. So I'm going to have an indent of 1 centimetre, so I'm just typing the number 1 and click OK. And there's my indent. Next, we're going to look at a line break. A line break is when you want to take a paragraph and at any point you can jump down to a new line rather than continuing the sentence on the same line. So for example on here, this sentence finishes on the word sight and then another sentence starts with the word he. If I would rather that start on a new line, I could press enter and that has started on a new paragraph. If I want to do the opposite of that, if I would like to merge these paragraphs together so these two paragraphs become one, I can click at the beginning of this paragraph here and press backspace, and that will now take those two paragraphs into one. If you would rather just go down a line rather than having a new paragraph, you have to hold shift when you press enter, and that will just go down a line without the big gap. You can also delete that as well by pressing delete, and again that line break will then jump into the paragraph above. Next thing we're going to look at is hyphenation. So hyphenation is found in page layout, hyphenation, and then automatic. And if you've got that selected, you'll see that some of the words in the document might be split up over two lines. For example, this word gardening here, the beginning of the word is here, and then there's a hyphen, which looks like a minus sign, and then it continues on the next line. So hyphenation will automatically do that to words in your document. Next, we're going to look at borders around titles. Here I've got the words welcome to our newsletter, and I'm going to apply an outline border. To do that, I'm going to click anywhere on my title and then go to the home menu, and this is the borders button here. It looks like 4 squares, and I'm going to choose from the list outside border. And that puts a border around that paragraph or title. You might be asked to make sure the border is a specific width. To change the width of the border, again go up to the borders button, choose borders and shading right at the bottom, and you've got some more choices. Here I can change the width. I might be asked to make it thicker. For example, I'll go for 3 points, click OK. Now I've got a thicker border. Right, next item is the format painter. The format painter is very useful when you want to make some of your text the same elsewhere on your document. For example, on this document I've got the words the internet in red, and I might want some other words later on in my document look the same. So to do that, I click anywhere where I want to copy the formatting, and the formatting means the colour, the size, the font. So I'm going to click up here where the writing is red. I'm then going to click Format Painter, and my pointer is now changed to look like a paintbrush. And I'm going to make this text down here look the same. So I'm going to hover over it, and there we go. It's made it red, and it's applied all the other formatting that was on the original text. So in this case it was also italic, so you can see it's slightly slanted as well. Right, that's the Format Painter. Next is superscript. I'm going to do this on the bottom of my document. On the bottom of my document, I'm going to write copyright Mary Smith. I'm going to put that in the footer. To write in the footer, just double click right at the bottom of the page, and that opens the footer. I'm going to write the copyright sign. To do that, I'm going to do an open bracket, then the letter C, then a close bracket, and that writes copyright sign. If I want to make, I'm going to write Mary Smith as well. Now, if I want to make the copyright sign superscript, that means it's going to be slightly smaller and higher up. I'm going to select it, go to the home menu, and there's two X's, two X buttons. One you can see the little 2 is below it, and here the little 2 is above it. A nice way to remember that if the 2 is below, like a submarine, then it puts it below, and that is called subscript. If the little 2 is above the X, then that is like Superman, so that is called superscript. And if I press that one, you'll see that the little c is smaller, but it is higher up than it was. That is superscript. Okay, next one we're going to look at is tabs. So let's have a look. Here we're going to use it. So tabs will keep lists, items in lists, all lined up and at a specific distance. In the practice test, you may have been told to make sure that a tab of 5.5 centimeters is applied to a list. That means that there's a 5.5 centimeter gap from the edge of the page where these numbers will appear. So let's see if we can make that work. First step is to select over the list, then we do a right click and choose paragraph. Now, we've used these settings before to change things like spacing, and we used it earlier just to look at how we can do an indent. For tabs, you have to click the tabs button in the bottom left hand corner, and you're given an option here to type in a tab stop position. That's where you would put the distance that you're asked in the question. So in the sample test, you would have used the number 5.5. Click OK, and you'll see I've now got a big gap of 5.5 centimeters to these items on the list. Start. Right, we are about halfway through. Hope you're keeping up. Let's take a look at column widths next and tables. Right, adding a table. To add a table, I'm going to go to Insert at the top and then Table. And when we're adding a table, we're talking about rows and columns. Now, can't get confused with this anymore. Columns go up and down, rows go across. Columns are like Nelson's column, and rows are like rows of sweets in a cake shop, something like that, or rows of shelves that you might have on a wall. Rows always go across. And there is something to help you on the screen with this. And if you're good at maths, you'll always get this right. In maths, we always remember that we go along the corridor and up and down the stairs whenever we do grid references. The same on Microsoft Word. And you'll see that when you make a table, it tells you the number of rows first and then the number of columns. So I'm going to add a table that is 3 rows by 5 columns. So I go across 3, down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you'll see that it actually says 3 times 5 table. It's always the row first and then the columns. So you can match that up on your question if you get confused. And there is my table. To colour in your table, you can highlight a row or highlight a column. You'll need to go to Design at the top, and you can always use the paint bucket. If you need to colour in your table, you might be asked that. The question that often people get stuck with is making the column a specific width. And you can try dragging the width at these points, but it's hard to get a specific width. To be able to choose a width, it's best to go up to Table Tools and then Layouts, and you've got the width here. So the question might say, make the width 3. So I'd type it in the box and press Enter. Okay, next question is looking at moving images and sizing images. I've got a picture on here already. Here we go. And you might be asked to make the picture a specific size. So we're going to go up to Format at the top, and you've got the height and you've got the width over here. Now, if you need to make it a size and it keeps changing the other number, so I might want to make it 3 centimeters by 3 centimeters. If I type in 3, then the other one changes. If I tried changing that one, the other one might change as well. If it doesn't let you choose the numbers you want, you'll need to click on this icon down here and untick the box that says lock aspect ratio. If you untick that box, you can then always type in the exact numbers you need as the width and the height. You may also be asked to move the image as well. I'm going to move this image to the top of the page. To make images easier to move, if you click on the picture and look for the icon that looks like a curve with some lines on it, and I always use the last one. There's all these choices, there's 6 choices, go for the last one. The last one means that you can then drag the picture and put it absolutely anywhere you like. In this case, I'm going to try and get it right to the top of the page. So it even lets you go right up into the header. There we go. Okay, let's look at margins next. So you might be asked to change the margin. The margin of these gaps. These gutters at the left, the right hand side, the gap at the top and the bottom, these are the margins. To change your margins, you can go to Page Layout, Margins, and right down the bottom to where it says Custom Margins. Oh, I can't choose that at the moment. Let me try clicking on my text and then trying again. There we go. And you can choose top, left, bottom or right. Whatever it asks you, you just type in the number that you're asked. So I'm going to go for 2 for some reason. And click OK. And that will change your document. Date, adding the date into the header. It's hard to find the date up here in the toolbar. It's not always there. To make sure it's there, double click in the header. So I'm going to double click right at the top of the page, from the top left. Now I've got different buttons at the top. And there's my button here for date and time. So I'm going to add the date. I'm going to leave the default one at the top, but it may ask you to make sure that the date will update automatically. So I'm going to check this box to update automatically and click OK. There's my date. You may also need to add page numbers at the bottom. You can do this at any point. Just go to Insert, then go to Page Number, and you can choose if you want it in the header at the top or at the footer at the bottom. So I'm going to do bottom of the page on the left. And there it is. There is my page number. Right, just a couple more things to go through with you and we are done. Spell check. The best way to spell check is to press F7 on the keyboard. It's on the top row of the keyboard, F7, or you can go to Review, Spell Check, and when you do a spell check, always click Change. Just click Change for every single item. Change, 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 and when it's done, it will say the spell check is complete. The last thing then to show you is mail merge. Mail merge is the trickiest one, but you should be able to get through it quite easily if you follow these rules. Right, for mail merge, you will need to link together 2 documents. You'll need to link together your letter with a list of customers to send it to. So you'll first need to go to File, Open, and open up your letter. Once you've opened up your letter, you now need to link it with your list of customers who you're going to send the letter to. To do that, go to Mailings, select Recipients. Recipients means the people you're sending it to, and go to Choose Existing List. You'll then need to find the list on your computer. It will be on Computer, and then it will be in the Z drive. Once you've found it, click Open. If this comes up, click OK, but you probably won't get this box. And that's it. That has now linked the letter with your customers, and that would be that question answered. But you might be asked in a later lesson, a later question, to add the parts of the customer onto the letter. These are called the fields. So here I'm going to delete this because I don't need that, and I'm going to put in the details from the letter. So it will ask you to add a field. To add the fields to the letter, you just click Insert Merge Field, and I'm going to add the name, and the address. Now, on the question, you might only need to ask, it might already have some of these done for you. You might just need to add one at the end. So it might just ask you to add the country. So I'm going to do insert merge field, country. Now that is done, but you need to finish and say that you have, and to finish it, you need to see the names of the people we're going to send the letter to. So we are just going to click on the end here where it says finish and merge, and it's always the most obvious choice. So we just choose the first thing on the list, which says edit, and then we just click OK. And there we go. It's put the people's names onto the letter. Right, that pretty much wraps it up. You know what? I am going to show you one more thing, because you never know. This could be the difference between getting a pass or a merit or a distinction. We're just going to look at saving, and this important point on saving. You may be asked to save as a particular format. That's not the name of the file, but the type of file. In particular, we often change the format so that our work is compatible with different computers, especially if they're older than the ones we use today. So in order to save as a particular format, we're going to go to File, Save As, Browse, or Computer. You might need to choose Computer first, but Browse so you can choose where to save. You will always need to save to the Z drive. Oh no, I don't want to do this. Hang on, let's try again. Here we go. Always save to the Z drive, but take a look at where it says save as type. Look carefully at the question. You might be asked to save it as a Word 97 to 2003 document. You might be asked to save it as a template. Make sure that whatever you're asked to save it as, you match it exactly. Then choose save, and you are done. Good luck in your ECDL exams, and I hope you pass. Well, I'm sure you will. Goodbye.